Welcome to the review of the Book of Unwritten Tales 2. My name is Gabriel, this is my channel, and today I will share with you my quick view and opinion about this point-and-click adventure game. I hope this will not go into 30 minutes review like the last one. I review games in 4 sections: story, presentation and design, then gameplay, and finally a verdict. Here we go. The game begins with a short introduction to the story of the previous title, the Book of Unwritten Tales, by Nate, one of our main heroes. Later we accompany him on a fall. And well, the story is in this game a little bit tricky. It is an experience very different than what I firstly encountered with this series in my blind let's play of the Book of Unwritten Tales, the first game and prequel to the title I'm talking about now. You can find it somewhere around here, there will be a link. This time the narrative is less centered, but it is still an overarching storyline that at some moment pushes the adventurers forward, adventures of individual characters. We meet our heroes in different situations, but the events will sooner or later make their paths collide. So we have here Wilbur, a gnome who wants to be a mage and now is teaching magic in an academy. We have Ivo, my personal favorite elven princess, who is, well, she's not a stereotypical elven princess, and the mentioned Nate. As well, we have to always say that somewhere around him you will find Critter, his sort of a sidekick. What is great about this story? It is quite easy to foresee. You can quite clearly see what types of events will happen, even if predictability of a story isn't exactly what you are looking for. Even if you predict the storyline in this game, it will rather make you smile than regret. In the end, it is not as a positive storyline, and the ending is not as positive as in the Book of Unwritten Tales, which from my personal perspective is even better. What the most important element here is the humor. That's the highlight of many point-and-click adventure games. Avantasia is unlike many generic fantasy world. It's a setting that has distance to itself and distance to its heroes, which basically means that we're talking about a setting that is, as I said before, rather making you smile and tries to be funny, considering traits and fantasy topics that you generally find in fantasy these days, more or less very serious. And this distance that Avantasia has and the developers of this game have, it's something I suggest to many people. It's good to have it because then many things are much easier, not only in life but in gaming as well. So, the heroes. Heroes are most possibly and most certainly the highlight of this game, of this production. There is personality here. I love Ivo, as I said before. I do like Wilbur. I personally believe that they talk, they interact with each other in a fantastic way. And the game forces them to cooperate, which most of the time is the pin that strikes you and is the icing on the cake, if I can use that expression, making the Book of Unwritten Tales 2 a marvel rather than just a positive experience in gaming. The game is what it is. As you can see behind me, there is no fancy graphics here. This is a point-and-click adventure game, so they are not exactly sold by what we might call fancy technical design. We have here a consistent 3D environment with a fixed position of the camera that allows you to explore in a very classical way back to the old days, back to the mid-90s, when point-and-click adventure games were basically just 2D animations. And this basically means that we have in this production a very typical and traditional style. Colors and the aesthetics are as well maybe not the best, but they certainly are able to do the job nicely. There is this fable type of feeling that accompanies you and accompanies the heroes. This presentation of this game, when it comes to its graphical element, is consistent, even if it is sometimes a little bit comic, or, well, in the end it fits the mood, and that's what a game's graphic design should do. When it comes to the sound, it's a little bit more tricky. I would expect from this production, I would love this game to have a better sound, if you know what I mean. The music is fine, it's decent. Can be a little bit repetitive, even considering the fact that you play this game for around 20 to 24, 25 hours maybe. I spend it somewhere around that, considering I got stuck several times on some puzzles and needed more time than usually to overcome them. It might take you a little bit less. But I don't think that the music is something that needs to worry you. I'm quite sure that the soundtrack will not bother you. Another thing is the voice acting, which is decent, but could be a little bit better. I found it quite memorable, specifically when it comes to the main characters. People who lend their voices to Nate, Ivo and Wilbur are doing a tremendously good job. But the secondary characters, not exactly the best. Even if, most of the time, these are reoccurring characters and reoccurring voice actors from the previous titles. In the matter of gameplay, there is nothing really to talk about here. The navigation of the world is like in all point-and-click adventure games. You basically click items, collect items, use them in a very specific way, by either combining them in an inventory or using them on the environments themselves. There is a bug that made me several times a little bit annoyed, but it's not something that can break your experience. Sometimes when you switch between characters, if you control more than two in a specific puzzle or a specific area, one character goes to a specific location where he waits for more orders, and sometimes they get stuck and start circulating in a circle, in a loop. Basically, to overcome that, you need to turn back to that character, move them away somewhere, then again turn to the desired character and hope that the algorithms, the pathfinding algorithms, will move the character correctly. Usually it takes one attempt, but still can be quite annoying. One thing that I would change back to the previous Book of Unwritten Tales is the inventory screen. Now it is in the right corner in a backpack icon, which you have to open and close. Sometimes this gets in the way of the environment, which is not exactly best. The inventory in the first game was basically just your items at the bottom of the screen. Made more sense in my humble opinion. I prefer the down menu. It was easier to access, and reminds me of kind of like an Apple type short bar in MacBooks. The game is a solid 75 out of 100. That means we have here a game that is worthy of its price, has something to offer and has potential to actually grow. Especially if you consider the fact that the ending of this game isn't exactly the best type of ending a game can have. There is something lurking, there is a tragedy, there is a problem that will have to be resolved in the next entry. And I hope we will see Book of Unwritten Tales 3. Book of Unwritten Tales 2 gets a glorious recommendation. This game holds to its tradition to point-and-click adventure game titles and has an interesting story to offer, and most certainly has jokes that you should experience for yourself. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, hope to see you next time. My name is Gabriel, and it was a pleasure to share my opinion with you.